So hello everyone and welcome to this week's 5-Minute Friday. And this week, if you haven't followed any of our blogs or Twitters or LinkedIn feeds or anything, you'll know that this week it was all about DVD 2018. That's right, this week I was lucky enough to be invited along to DVD 2018. Now, if you don't know what DVD 2018 was, it's a event that's held every other year here in the UK, and it started as an event that looked at the requirements and the needs of the British Army in terms of equipment that they may require now and into the future. And this event over the years has got bigger and bigger, and it's certainly by no means it's not as big as DSEI. If you don't know what DSEI is, we'll be going to that next year. But if you've never been to DSEI, it's like the military arms fair. It's almost on comparison in size to Farnborough, if you like, in terms of exhibitors. But the reality is that this is a smaller event. Like I said, it's focused specifically on the needs of the British Army, but there are lots of interesting exhibitors there. Now, the theme for this year, I sat in and listened to a couple of presentations from some government ministers and from senior military officials. And the theme this year was all about innovation, how to embrace and adopt innovation and innovative ways in making the army much more productive, much more efficient, much more of a strength, and much more affordable, which is obviously key. Now, I went there with a very specific reason, and that was to speak to those that are involved in information production, product support, technical publications. That's kind of what we're about, so that's kind of where I went. Now, firstly, I think I saw 6 companies on display who were talking about technical publications. So there were some technical publications people on display, and I spent some time with our TDW member company, CDS Defence Support, and talked over what they were hoping to get out of the event. And, they had some pretty interesting discussions going on their stand. So I wanted to spend time with them, but I also wanted to spend time with the manufacturers, if you like. So I wanted to talk to those they had some pretty interesting machines on display. So we had the Ajax there, we had the Boxer there. I spent some time with the guys from Kraus Maffei, talking to them about, the platform, and quite kind of interesting that everything had a Union Jack on it, although it might have had, a German number plate. I'll put some footage over me so you can see that. But so what strikes me is looking at some of the technology that was on display and looking at how they're still contracting for technical publications. It seems that this is an area that the Army is kind of missing a little bit of a treat. The most innovative thing that they tend to do is, creating a PDF, which is, so far behind the curve. And I believe that this argument in terms of technology and connectivity and arduous environments and those kind of things, these things are going to go away, because on display there this week, they were talking about the changing role of the Army. They were talking about how the Army is going to be far more connected. And I spent some time with some vendors that were all about actually integrating tablets onto the equipment that the soldiers wear. And I spent some time with those guys talking about, if, for example, we wanted to install, and I talked specifically about Trilogy View, and I said, look, if we wanted to install Trilogy View onto this tablet that the soldier, maybe a REME mechanic, had installed onto his person, is that possible? And they were saying, well, they're already doing that kind of thing. They're already putting instruction onto these things to guide soldiers through practices and processes. And in fact, the one particular company that I spoke to said that their technology was actually in trials with the Army right now. So I believe that the area that's specific to our domain that could really do with a little bit of sprucing up and innovation and giving the user what they want is in product support, is in technical publications. Anyway, so I got a question from a couple of you out there saying, what was DVD worth it? What kind of people were there? And, do you recommend that we take a table the next time that we go? So firstly, there are lots of very senior military officials that go to this event. And when we went in, because we were lucky enough to get in on a press pass, which meant we used a different access area, which meant that we spent some time and met some of the generals that were there, and some very senior military guys who actually asked us what we were up to. And once I told them what TDW was about, they were very interested in saying, that's obviously key to, all of the products that you see on display here. So, in terms of whether you get access to those people is much, much more difficult. Let's be honest, there are a lot of people there that are on a jolly. So there are those that are there in terms of, junior military guys that are there on a day out and picking up the freebies and, having a look around. There were some students there as well. I noticed that there were some students from some apprentices from DENS were there as well. So there was lots of that. But there are some good networking opportunities. Like I said, I spent more time going out and speaking to the large vendors and talking about their platforms and how they are integrating product support and information, and how they are planning on using things like augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality. And if you didn't see my presentation at TDW Live last year, where I talked about augmented reality at the School of Military I think it's the School of Military Engineering at Lynham, they had some of the equipment that I talked about on display there this week as well, which was very interesting. Spent some time with Pennant talking about what they're doing around augmented reality. Lots of interesting stuff going on. So it's worthwhile going for a networking perspective. There are lots of very senior military guys that go there. There are obviously the project teams that go there, and we spent some time with some of the project teams talking about information and how information can be improved to make life easier for maintainers and the like. So it's absolutely worthwhile, and I want to hear what you got out of DVD. Like I say, the next event is 2020, and they were already promoting that event for those of us that were there in the press gallery. Some of it was rained off, and yesterday we left early because it was going to absolutely bucket it down. When we arrived yesterday morning, it was chucking it down, and then the skies were going to open, so we left. And then I got a message from one of you saying, "Are you still here? Can you come and have a coffee?" And I'd already gone, so apologies for that. But the next event will be 2020. Looking forward to that. And we'll certainly be going along again. I've had some ideas for some blogs based on some of the kind of intel that I picked up, which I will do over the next coming week. So what did you learn at DVD? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was useful? Comments below. Make sure you follow, subscribe. If you're not following us on LinkedIn, that's where I've been doing our daily kind of posts to my profile and to Tech Data World, to say kind of the stuff that we're up to and who we're speaking to and the kind of things that we learned. So that was this week's 5-Minute Friday. I hope that you found it useful and interesting. If you want to know more about DVD, there will be a full article in our magazine with the images that I've taken. I took loads of photos and stuff. You had snippets on LinkedIn, but I've taken some what I think are pretty decent photos. So there'll be a full article in the TDW magazine. So everyone, that was 5-Minute Friday. Until next week.